All right, Paigey. So we get asked a lot during our live streams what we think about like stories when they like these wild stories when they come out. And I think with this one, when it comes to Beau DeMayo and Disney and Marvel, we kind of talked about it briefly, but we had no information. You remember back when this first happened in March, right before X-Men 97 came out?
Yeah, and it was just essentially like, oh, he was fired for... I didn't even know what they said at the time.
Well, I think they didn't even say fired. I think they said they parted ways, right?
Oh, yeah, it was like a mutual agreement or something like that. Yeah, that's right.
That story's changed now. We'll get to that in a second.
Well,
but people were like, are you hashtag Team Beau? Are you hashtag Team Marvel Disney? And I'm like, I'm not either side of that. Like, Marvel and Disney is a corporation. Like, I'm obviously not going to believe everything that comes out of that company. And then I don't know much about Beau, so I'm not going to jump in the line of fire. You know what I mean? So it was just, who am I going to pick? And so we kind of stopped talking about it because I honestly didn't think we'd ever find out. I thought this was going to be one of those things where, you know, one of those like stories that like people speculate about for years and years and years. We never get any information. But then this happened. And I think based on the timeline of this, Beau sort of started this. Like, this was like he did something and then the statement came out according to the timeline here, if we're looking at it. So it's kind of weird because we just had D23 and everybody seemed really excited about season 2 of X-Men 97. And he started talking about storylines and stuff like that. I think that might have pissed Disney off a little bit because, you know, he's giving more information. I mean, he's been talking a lot on social media, doing interviews. I don't think they want him doing anything when it comes to X-Men 97. Like, I believe based on what this article says, he wasn't supposed to be talking about it at all. But
yeah, it's almost like Disney didn't want him being a representative or like face of the show in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
especially on social media.
So let's look at this. It says X-Men 97 creator Beau DeMayo was fired for egregious misconduct after he alleges Disney stripped credit over his gay pride post. And so we've got this here. And this is the statement. Marvel Studios issued an official statement saying that X-Men 97 creator and head writer Beau DeMayo was fired from the series in March 20. Fired. This is the statement. Fired.
Oh yeah.
No longer like a separation there. Fired from the series for egregious misconduct. The studio released a statement shortly after DeMayo posted on several social media accounts claiming he was stripped of writing credits for the show's second season because of a gay pride post he shared to social media. And we're going to take a look at those. But while we're pulling that up, what do you think of this statement? What are your thoughts on this? Because I know you had some theories on what could be going on. Egregious misconduct of what seems to be what some sources might be saying are pretty bad. Just we'll get into that part of it, but what are your general thoughts on this statement while I pull up the post?
Well, my theory since the beginning, like I remember saying it like when the first thing came up, and I felt like I might have been the only one saying it, and I didn't even know because I didn't really know who he was, even because like people might go, "Oh my god, Paige, you already did." I haven't watched X-Men 97, so I didn't follow anything. I might eventually get around to watching it. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But I know I might get peer pressured eventually.
It was good, but you're not an animation person. So
just you know, commitment's hard for me sometimes. Oh, but like I didn't know him anything. So when this is like the first I really heard of him when this news came out. So not a very good introduction.
Right.
Leave a job, but it just said it was like, I can't remember what they said at the time. It was like a mutual agreement that he left because of like, and then they said there was like some stuff happening, like it didn't line up with the company's values or something. Was that something that said?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was. I have to look back at it, but I mean, the big thing was that he wasn't giving much information about it because he, even in the interviews, he wasn't talking about why he was no longer affiliated with them. But it was pretty obvious that Marvel, even after he was no longer with them, he wasn't in that documentary they put out on Disney Plus. He was nowhere to be found in that documentary. They had everybody associated with the show except for him in that. He wasn't included in any of the red carpet premieres or anything to do with the show or whatever. It was like they purposely just excluded him from doing anything, which felt really weird. If it were just a parting of ways and he was no longer working with them anymore, it felt a little bit weird that they were just like basically canceling him from everything. And that's why I got a bad vibe from it. My spidey sense started going off and I'm like, okay, something must be happening here. But I didn't want it to be the worst because I think he did a really good job with the show. So there was a lot of people, and I wonder what they think now that they've been saying this, like bring back Beau DeMayo. I wonder how they feel if any of the rumor parts of this are true, because there are some rumors that we will specify are specifically rumors about what actually happened. We'll get to those in a second, but this is the post that really kind of started everything off with Marvel making the statement. And I think this came after the D23 thing because of the, basically the stuff about X-Men 97 season 2 and all of the hype around it. And I guess he felt a certain kind of way about it. So he wanted to talk about this. So he goes, firstly, I'm so grateful to have worked on X-Men 97, collaborating with some amazingly talented folks. Creating this revival was a dream come true, and the support the fans have shown is so touching. However, I felt pressing for me to speak up in the wake of leaving the show. So here he says he left the show. They said that he was fired, but back in March, it was a mutual split between the two of them. So already different stories there from them. And this is the post that was shared. And it's literally just fan art of him as Cyclops. And to be clear here, I saw this and I thought it was going to be something really bad, because I'm like, if they fired him over this, is there something else? Is this the only thing?
Yeah,
because
like,
there's
to be fair, I've seen
that were less than this. I mean,
yeah, I've seen you do worse in your live stream. So like, I'm surprised this would be
maybe. But I mean, like, look, Namor doesn't even wear gloves and a harness. So this is literally, I mean, it's just not that bad. It really isn't. It's just fan art. And he posted it during Pride Month. He said, "Happy Pride." I don't really know what this has to do with Pride, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't have any Pride statements. There's no any sort of colors or anything. It's just him. I mean, I guess Pride because he's gay, but it doesn't jump out as like if he would have posted this any other time of the year, it would have just been a regular picture. But it was fan art. He posted it, and then he followed up with this. There are community notes. I'm not going to read them here. Above is the X-Men fan art I posted on Instagram for Gay Pride in June. On June 13th, Marvel sent a letter notifying me they stripped me of my season 2 credits due to this post. Sadly, this is the latest in a troubling pattern I suffered while working on X-Men 97 and Blade. This is weird. First of all, I'm not going to call anybody a liar, because again, we're getting two portions of the story here. But this happened in June. Why are we talking about this now? And I mean, what was the trigger for this? Like, honestly, I didn't see anything about Beau coming out. No one had said anything at this point. Literally, he posted this and that was it, as far as I know. Okay. Correct?
So the context that I know of, at least, the only thing before, because I'd seen it at the time when I guess he was doing, just because of the For You thing on Twitter that I automatically go to when I log on for some reason. He didn't get invited to the Emmys despite being nominated, I think, or like an episode of X-Men 97 was nominated. He's the writer of it. Okay. But I don't know if he's necessarily going to, I think he might be like a written by Beau DeMayo, blah, 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 but he wasn't invited. He requested to be invited, and Marvel still turned him down. Yeah.
Right. So
like they don't want him affiliated with it at all. Right. So that's why he was.
I will say though, based on this information, he had to know they were going to say no. Like, I feel like that, like, I'm just saying, like, okay. He goes, "I'll have to say more soon, but take a step back to social media, find a safer space for me, out proud nerdy, stay tuned." And then I saw this. There was a follow-up to this on his page where he goes, "The truth will be revealed after the Disney Plus disaster. Marvel wants to mislead with alleged contract breaches over tweets. It's tragic it's come to this, but unsurprising. Stay tuned." And then this was the last thing he posted, which is, "This is their Disney Marvel usual playback book, legal letters, as well as other items to prove their long-standing pattern to follow. It's about finding a safe outlet. Thank you for your faith and patience." So that's all we have from him right now. But I do want to look back at the article, and then there's another follow-up to this as well. This is a lot. It's a bunch of puzzle pieces.
Well, yeah, it snowballed incredibly quickly in the past 24 hours or something.
Okay. So this was the rest of the statement here. Following it was an internal investigation. Given the egregious nature of the findings, we severed ties with him immediately, and he has no further affiliations with Marvel. So this contradicts what we knew back in March. There was no mention of an investigation. There's nothing egregious in nature. I do also want to point out, it's not like Marvel and Disney are victims in this situation, because if there is something egregious happening and they're not saying anything, they're covering up something. And so it's not made public, and we don't know why yet, but if there is no sort of like follow through legally, then people were paid off and they're trying to cover it up. That's what this feels like to me.
Yeah.
Then we go down further here. There's a little bit more. Now, I want to point out this is not Disney and Marvel. This is a source. So this is somebody that says they know something about the investigation, and we don't know who that person is. Now, this says a source with knowledge of the investigation said evidence was discovered of misconduct. I'm not going to say that on here. I'm going to be very careful about this. And that DeMayo repeatedly violated his termination agreement, which led to his removal of credits for season 2. And I believe that the article from Hollywood Reporter said that that was commenting about the show on social media. Like he wasn't supposed to be doing interviews and podcasts and stuff like that. So essentially he was breaking his, like, I guess, termination agreement by constantly talking about storylines, engaging with fans. We saw he's been on interviews with people on YouTube. So I'm guessing that Disney and Marvel was like, we didn't want you associated with the show. And here you are out doing interviews and stuff like that. And it's confusing for like, we know that he's no longer associated, but the general public, as much as this seems like a big deal to us, the general public may not know. So, so there we go. That's the two things with them. Before we get into this next rumor portion, let's just sort of recap that. So Beau says that he was basically pulled from the credits of season 2 because he posted a gay pride picture, which I'll be honest, I find that a little difficult to believe considering the picture wasn't bad, but maybe it's true. Maybe they did it. The companies lie, but they're saying that he was terminated due to an internal investigation and that he violated his agreement with them by engaging on social media with Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. So those are the two stories we have. Okay. The next portion of this is a rumor. I want to be very clear here. This is not confirmed stuff, but let's see. I'll pull up the post from Discussing Film because it's the one that's probably it doesn't have a lot of the details, but we can sort of get the gist of it. So here we go. Discussing Film here says that Beau DeMayo allegedly sent revealing photos of himself in erotic, sensually suggestive hero poses to several younger male staffers working on X-Men 97, saying they could use it as an inspiration. He also allegedly touched someone without consent multiple times and emotionally, physically abused other staffers. Now, this comes from someone that may not be the most reputable source. Obviously, we're talking about the N. Snyder.
I don't know. You gotta be like, that's.
I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm just saying this is not Marvel and Disney. This is someone else completely.
Yeah, like it'd be very ballsy of this person to make these allegations and have just pulled them out of where.
But let me tell you why it's kind of annoying to me, right? If this is being leaked and this is actually what happened, and Marvel covered all of this up and then tried to sort of play it off like they did an investigation, they parted ways, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is if this is not true, this is the problem with not being transparent.
Because then he could have got hired at another place and then continued to do these things.
This isn't the only rumor that I've seen. This is probably the most reputable rumor that I've seen, but I've heard other rumors. We talked about, and you mentioned it, the OF stuff.
Well, like that's the thing. So, like I didn't mention it before because I went on a tangent, but my theory from the beginning, and I felt like I was the only one that was saying it, that he was doing, because it came out like at the time back in the initial thing that he had an OF account.
Mm-hmm.
And my theory around it, especially based off the initial thing that happened back whenever it happened, it just sounded like it was a pretty tame thing, at least tame compared to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was just he was doing OF at work. Disney felt that lined up with their values. They parted ways.
Right.
Maybe because he really wanted to keep doing his OF rather than be.
And look, I'll be honest, just doing that to me, just doing like sexy OF pictures that aren't like nudity or whatever. I don't think that's a problem.
I
get why they would find a problem. If it was on set while other people were around. I understand why. But this is next level.
Well, that's the thing. I was fine with that as well. I think maybe in the workplace, especially when it's a company targeted at kids, essentially, Probably not the best idea. So I can understand if Disney maybe even warned him and then he kept doing it and then they got rid of him. But now the OF thing was tame, but it also leads into this where he was taking, because this is the thing. He was doing the OF thing. Do you think he was sending those photos that he would have posted on OF as the inspiration to these young things? So in turn, he's sending his OF content to fellow employees and people within the company, which completely breaches a couple of different values within Disney.
I just don't know how any functioning adult in 2024 would think that any of this is okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but sometimes people just get big in the head, essentially, and they just either they think they don't care or they just don't realize. It's probably or a combination. I mean, of the two.
Just like none of this seems like it could be like a miscommunication. You know what I'm saying? Like it just
and some people don't realize boundaries either. Like maybe he just doesn't have those boundaries.
Maybe.
Like, but I would know not to send you a photo of my ass, Eric. Actually, I might do it, but if I didn't know you that well.
Yeah,
actually, I mean, I might do that tomorrow. But anyway.
I think the other issue is that when you are someone who is like a showrunner, a producer, a writer for something, and you're at the top end, all of these other people that are working with you work for you essentially. And even if you're doing something as a joke, like, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking about like to this level, but something inappropriately as a joke, I could understand how your humor might not be their humor, but this stuff, I cannot believe
there's
any
no
of this
spectrum to it. It's right or wrong. It's like there's
it just doesn't work for me. Yeah. And I really wish that Marvel and Disney would just come out about this and be straight up. If they did an investigation, talk about it, because now we have these rumors and it's just going to get even worse. And I think it's going to spiral, and this is going to affect season 2. It's going to affect how people look at the show because they were not honest about it from the beginning. That's the problem.
I think the big thing is that I think Disney were probably trying to at least give Beau DeMayo some sort of leeway in regards to his career going forward. Whereas, okay, we're going to depart here. We're not going to go into too much detail. We'll just say, you know, whatever the initial thing, because it was pretty tame back then. But man,
if this is career ending,
if this is true, especially the last bit, Beau DeMayo might have to go outside of these actions. Just over the past 24 hours, Beau DeMayo might get Idiot of the Year. He might win that award.
Yeah.
At least he's definitely just locked himself in for a nomination, because I've never seen someone try to make a big company look bad. And I don't know if he's trying to jump on the tail of that thing from the past week with the Disney Plus guy and the false death thing that happened in Disneyland. Trying to jump on board that. If that's the case, it's even more sick.
Yeah.
But he tried to attack Disney with like really soft allegations, which people are like, really? Like, really?
I mean, think about this. Like, the worst thing is Disney didn't invite you to an award ceremony, and they had this on you, and
which
you
once
pushed
again
the buttons,
plays
and you went after them.
Well, plays into the ego thing once again, but he's dug his own grave. Because Disney wouldn't come out and said this. This stuff would not have come out, at least in the short term, if he hadn't really, I guess, like, let's be honest, had a whinge. Like, had a whinge online. Oh, I didn't get invited.
First of all, now what about victims? What about the victims?
Some of the people that were victims of this were probably going to be at the Emmys. I'd assume so, or at least maybe even just one. What the? I don't know. Like, he might just be like delusional. I'm not too sure. Like, I'm basing off this being true, but like, I have to think like at least some of this.
Look, there are so many reasons why I hope this isn't true. Like, number one, because I don't
especially
want
the last bit.
Especially like people, I mean, people being treated like this is just not acceptable. Number one, first and foremost, it's gross. The other thing is that I liked what he did on season 1, and I'd like to think that maybe he'll be involved with something else moving forward creatively, if this isn't true. But I have to say, that whole defense about they stopped, you know, they told me that they weren't going to put my name in the credits because of this gay pride post. I don't know about that. I want to believe it, but I just don't know.
Now the gay pride post is even more, it's like super sus, because that's probably one of the poses he sent to people.
Oh, I don't even want to think about that. That's just, this is just bad. So, I mean, well,
look, I do think and I don't know if you agree with me. I think he was playing one big game of chicken with this thing because I just don't. Now, to be fair, Disney hasn't come out and said it. It's been, you know, it's obviously the Snyder and I've seen some other sources as well talk about this. So he's obviously just played a bit of a dangerous game if this ends up being true.
I mean, look, here's the thing though. This is the reason why it makes me a little bit worried about all this. This tweet was posted. How old is this tweet? This was posted several hours ago now at this point. And Disney was very quick to respond to what Beau posted about, you know, his pride picture or whatever. They were very quick to follow up with that. Then this came out, and as far as I looked before we started recording, I looked to see, and I'm like, I don't see anything else from them. They're not disputing this. They're not saying this didn't happen. So this makes me worried that a large majority of this is probably true. And that's very worrisome. And this isn't something that Marvel and Disney needs to deal with, because this is like the fact that they covered it up. I think like this could have happened and they could have made a swift reaction to it and been like, this is what was going on. We got rid of him immediately. And we have gone through to make sure the rest of the team is good and everyone's been taken care of, blah, blah, blah. And looked like they were on the up and up with this. But now, if this is true and they didn't release this about Beau, then that means he could have went on to work at other companies with this stuff having gone on at Disney and Marvel, and they tried to cover it up. Do they really think that he was never going to work again? That's why I'm like, is this true? Is it? Is this really what happened?
Yeah, it's just to be honest, had sort of forgotten about this story. One, because the show wasn't airing at the moment, so you didn't get that. But I mean, I
guess we'll see if they try and bury this. They try to.
Well, that's a big thing, because you showed Beau DeMayo's account. He hasn't responded to this, and it's been up for more than a few hours now. So
his last post was 16 hours ago. So
so maybe he's gone, oh damn.
I am assuming both parties have had some sort of legal communication.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to be taking on good old Mickey Mouse in the courthouse.
No, I would not either. I mean, look how that worked out for some of the other stuff they've been dealing with. So I don't know. I'm not saying that they're right or he's right in this. I actually think this whole situation is fucked because, you know, if he did it, obviously that's fucked. If they tried to cover it up because they didn't want to look bad, that's fucked. It's just all of it is not good. It's just not good. Anyway, that's pretty much all the story for now. When we do our next live stream, I'm sure we'll have more to say about this. So leave some comments down below.
Hashtag Beau DeMayo updates. Ray Fisher, move along.
Maybe it. More later. Anyway, we'll chat with everybody soon.